Transferable skills.
From Cackle Media, this is Transferable Skills. I'm Noah Mishkin. Today's guest is Matthew Stern, who shares his skills journey from digital marketing into telehealth startup entrepreneur. I hope you enjoy.
Just checked my Stripe account. We just solved like a massive billing issue that we've had for 2 weeks in the business for 10 days. We've been getting all the new signups, but the people that have been with us for a year haven't been able to get billed or get their medication. Yeah, we just solved a 10-day billing issue in the last 30 minutes.
Well, Congratulations on getting that peace of mind before the weekend.
Thanks. Yeah, I've been half trying to just not freak out the last 10 days, but it hasn't been working. No.
Does that keep you up at
No, it
night?
doesn't keep me up at night.
Why?
Because there's nothing you can do to control it. When you run a startup, shit is going to happen. It's going to go sideways. I've been doing it for 20 years. If anything is inevitable, it's that the high times are super high and the low times are always going to happen. Like you're always going to get punched in the face. And so the more you can like minimize the impact of that blow and just keep going, right? Keep fighting, the better off you are. And control the things you can control and let go of the things you can't. I mean, it's like, sounds pretty basic, like life stuff, but yeah, it's real.
But that takes so many years often for people to mature into that sort of Stoic philosophy of understanding the difference between the things you can and can't control.
I was wired from a really early age to never be able to hold on to the losses. You know, I had a funny conversation with a buddy on the golf course like last week, and he said, "You remember when I gave you a beat?" He gave me a beat down. I guess like a year ago we were on a golf trip, and he's like, "You remember the last day I took you for a ton of money?" And I was like, "I don't actually."
I'm sure he remembers it.
He was like, "It was the greatest day I've ever had in playing golf with you," and he was celebrating it, and I was like, "I don't remember at all." From a young age, that was always kind of my thing. Like I was very easy for me to move on from the losses and just on to the next, right? And I'm not also very good at celebrating the wins. I think that comes with it too. That's something that I've worked on over the years as well, is getting better at. And that was my wife, actually, her influence from an early time when we were dating. She was like, "That's an incredible milestone. Like, we should celebrate." And I was like, "What do you mean? That's just one step. Like, we got to go. We're going somewhere else."
The goalposts have already been moved now.
They shift immediately. Yeah, well said. But she got me to pause in that moment. We were on a trip somewhere and we hit some big business milestone, and she was like, "We should celebrate." And you're right. My response was, the goalpost has already moved. Like, we're gone to the next thing. And she was like, "No, like we're gonna celebrate it." And so, yeah, she's gotten better at grounding me in the moment and giving me that perspective of like, okay, we're getting there. And now I've been keeping a notebook in this latest business, and there's one page in this notebook that is just like those little milestones. And that's my acknowledgement and my celebration. I can look back at that and say, here's where we were a year ago. Here's where we were 3 months ago. And now like, whoa, okay, we're doing, like, you don't see it every day, but when you look back at it like that, you see the big leaps that you're taking.
How big does a milestone have to be for you to record it?
That's a great question. It depends. Like, I think in this business that I'm operating today in MyStart, I've had these like 1,000 patients, 3,000 patients, 5,000 patients. Those kind of milestones are the milestones that I'm really driving towards. In my career though, I'd say like, yeah, they're multi-million-dollar celebrations. Yeah.
I think I asked that question because it's subjective, obviously, what's impact or meaningful to you or what you choose to recognize. I struggle sometimes with some of that same thing of celebrating those moments, as small as a victory as it is, it's still a victory. It's something to be noted.
Yeah.
And the areas where I get hung up on is something like where my kid comes home with like a 96 on an exam. It's like, well, what happened to the 4? Where the 4 points, where'd you go wrong? It's why am I focusing on those 4 when he got 96%?
Yeah.
And I work on that. I actively work on it. And I literally catch my tongue. I'm like,
nope,
think about it for a second, pause. Nice job. Well done. You worked hard. And that's a great achievement. Good job. You know?
Yeah.
And as opposed to always focusing on the negative, because it's not that I'm pessimistic. It's that I want to operationalize and optimize. I want to say, okay, now where did I miss that area of opportunity, and what can I do for the next time to improve on that result? And I have to remember that doesn't always apply to my children.
I wonder if that's part of your wiring as an artist as well, where you're like always trying to get better and better. And there's like little minute things that you're constantly adjusting from like a tune perspective. I don't know if that's how you play, but I wonder if that's
This
really core to like your DNA and like why that works for you as a musician too. Cause I'm not that way. I'm not ever focused on the 4%. Like to me, the minutia is just the minutia. And I'm always like celebrating the 96 or whatever the best part of that is.
it's possible I've had this wrong my whole life, this perspective, because I think I've always had the opposite assumption that the non-artistic, more objective and analytical side, I'm always pushing for how do I improve and optimize. And the artistic expression side of whatever I produce is good enough. And that's an expression of what's inside.
Yeah.
But I think it's very possible that what you're identifying and pointing out right now is an observation that I was perhaps completely wrong about, or at least partially wrong about. Because I do agree, to get better at any instrument, your voice included, you need to practice. There's the physicality of the muscles, but then there's also the intellectual side, and then there's the artistic expression. You might have up here in your head this idea of you want something to sound like, or this vibe that you're going for. And the artistic side is what you're thinking and where your expression is, but you still have to be able to produce it technically. And so you have to work on that craft. The results have to be through iteration to grow in order to accurately express what you had inside that you were envisioning.
Yeah. 100%.
That's crazy to me. I honestly think I had it the opposite my whole life.
That's cool. Yeah. I that's it. Cause I'm not a musician, but I have a ton of respect for musicians and have always wished that and you've already told me, I guess, it's not too late. So I got that in my back of my head since the first time we talked, that there's still time for me. The closest thing I have to that is golf, right? Like I play golf in the same way, where it's something that you're never going to perfect. Every time you go out, you're trying to get a little bit better. And when you go out and practice, you're trying to limit mistakes. Is really the entire game is all about how do you accept failure and how do you push past failure. And so that's why golf is such a good expression for me as like an entrepreneur and such a reflection of who I am in business, is just that ability to accept failure in the moment and continue to push forward.
When you're talking about limiting your faults or limiting your mistakes, that is literally how you score golf. It's not how many points you have, it's how many mistakes you made. The higher the number, the worse you are. That's literally what you're calculating, is how many mistakes on that hole, how many mistakes on the next hole.
Yeah, there's different ways to flag that. I mean, the score is one reflection of that.
Do you keep track of your results from just like games for pleasure?
Oh yeah, no, nothing's for pleasure. I've gotten much better. I've gotten much better at enjoying the time out there. I think since having a kid, the ability to go out and spend 5 hours with your buddies is very unique and like special, that I get to do that more than most people, I think. So I don't take that for granted anymore, and I do enjoy it. But no, it's not for pleasure. It's all for competition.
Take us back, if you want to use like a golf analogy. What was your approach into your career? Because it starts before you were really of age for a typical job.
Yeah.
Tell me about your background a little bit.
Yeah, there's a term, actually, if we're going to keep going to this golf analogy, we don't need to. But yeah, there's a term that we love to use as like a term of affection on the golf course, to call someone a grinder. It's someone that can just push through whatever it is, whatever gets thrown at them. They just stay on it and keep grinding, right? Just keep working through it. And it doesn't matter how big the boulder is, they're going to push it up the hill, and they're just going to keep pushing, and they don't know how to stop pushing that boulder up the hill. From an early age, I had this ability to just lock in and grind. And I enjoy that. Like I enjoy being out on a run and looking at a big hill and looking at the flat road in the right and being like, oh no, for sure I'm going to go run up that hill. Like there's no way I can't do that. And that's just mentally how I'm wired.
Do you like taking the harder path?
That's what it is. Yeah, I do. It always, like in my mind, there's no other choice.
Why?
I don't know but that's always how I've been. I've always, when I look at the easy path and I look at the hard path, I have to take the hard path. And
is it about enjoying the struggle, or is it about proving something?
I think it's both, because there are times where I don't enjoy the struggle, where it is hard, but I literally look at it like there's no other choice. So mentally, I don't allow myself to really play with that and be like, what's the alternative? Mentally, even though it's hard, I don't look at it like there's any other option.
All right, let's explore that a little deeper because I think that this is really tying into skills because it's about inherent personality traits, but also characteristics of work ethic and other things. When you're in that moment of not enjoying the struggle, the challenge that's in front of you that you're maybe actually you're in, you recognize you're on that run.
Yep.
It's 95 degrees uphill and you're not enjoying it. It's hard. What's going through your head maybe in that moment where you recognize it's hard and you don't like it, but
It's hard to answer. There's literally, my answer every time is there's no other option. There's no option to quit. There's no option to stop pushing. And that could be years of hardwiring that into my brain, right? I'm 42 now. So I've been
by whom?
me. Yeah. I mean, I really feel like I was born with an enjoyment of pushing through the hard and knowing that on the other side of that hill, there's this full experience of I did that. I overcame that. I pushed through. I achieved it. And now I'm on the downhill and I'm cruising and I'm lit up with all this energy. And that happens in everything you do in life. You just have to make sure you don't enjoy the downhill too much. But like you hit that cruise, right? You've made it over this hill, you made it to that milestone, or you've made it over that hill on that run, and you're just lit up with adrenaline and endorphins that you're like, you feel like you're on top of the world. And you get to ride it downhill and all the way home. And I think that's it for me. It's always seeking out challenge like that gives me that experience of cresting the hill and feeling it on the other side.
Have you ever quit anything in your life?
Wow. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that. I definitely quit a team when I was like 13 or 14. I guess I left a couple teams where in my life I didn't feel like I was valued in that team or I wasn't getting a fair shake.
Does that fall maybe into the category of things you can and cannot control? So the outcome or success of that team isn't solely dependent on you, and you can't control the ethics or performance or maybe raw talent of the individuals that are alongside you on that team. So maybe you've this sense of protecting your track record or success rate is, I'm not going to be on this team if they're not going to rise to the level of my expectations. So therefore I'm out.
That's really good coaching by you. And actually something that my life coach was coaching me on this week. I have like a business/life coach that I work with every week. And we were talking about that specifically. I don't operate well in environments where I don't have control, where I can't control the outcome. I like to be in the driver's seat of whether something's going to be successful or not. Also why I haven't been extremely successful in my career just as like a consultant where you're just telling people purely like what to do and you're relying on them to execute. I like to be in the driver's seat. I like to be steering the strategy and then also be like roll up my sleeves and be in it, be in the dirt, driving the business. Yeah, I think there is something there to that. And I think my dad was that way too. My dad was definitely like that dude. And so there were a couple times in my life as a kid where my dad would step in and give it to the coach and like that he wasn't giving me a fair shake. And I think those were the two teams that I ultimately wound up quitting. So I don't remember how much of an influence my dad had on that decision, but there were two teams in my life that I left.
We don't have to go deeper into this as clinical therapy, but I'm sure we could. And having control over the outcomes of things, I wonder who you're harder on, not to lead the question, but we started this talking about how you just found a resolution, fixed a problem that was negatively impacting your business for a number of days.
Yeah.
I'm curious how you react differently when you're the one that created that problem or somebody else on your team created that problem.
Yeah.
Forget about the solution, the problem
Sure.
itself.
Yeah. I think really, I think it's on the owner of the business. I think every single thing is my problem and it's on me. Yeah. As a leader in a business, if you're going to be the CEO of a company, it all starts and ends with you. The good, the bad, the ugly, like everything. And so it doesn't matter who caused the problem because had you had a better process in place for that, had you trained them better, had you educated them better, probably doesn't happen. I think that is leadership. Leadership is owning it all. and leaving no excuse to why something happens to anyone else in the business. And then it's leading from a place of grace and gratitude with those individuals, because had it been caused by a person, they're going to feel it. They know, right? And so all you can do in that moment as a leader is wrap your arms around them and know that, like, if they're your person and they're coming alongside you to build this business, that they're never going to do that again. If you hire the right people and you have the trust in those people, which I feel like that's paramount to running any business, but the people that I have in my organization, I trust 100%. And with that trust comes grace and gratitude all the time.
Yeah, fully. I fully respect that and subscribe to the same kind of vision and philosophy. Let's start at the beginning. I know you started in what I would describe as digital marketing.
Yeah.
As a leader, you described growing up. Before you went to UC Berkeley, though, your father passed away at an early age. You were homeless at the age of 17. What was that experience like early in your life?
I was extremely blessed growing up. The first 17 years of my life, I had everything I ever wanted. My parents idolized me. I was everything to them. And I was given everything, every opportunity that anyone could ever have. And then at 17, my dad lost everything. And there were a lot of explanations for why that was. A lot of that was what became a mental health condition that he had battled for years, that no one had diagnosed and no one had given him support for. So it's part of the reason why I've gone so deep on mental health in my life. My dad had undiagnosed bipolar probably his entire life. And a lot of the stories and outcomes of our family were a direct result of that. But I came home from school one day as a senior in high school, and he was gone, and there were bills stacked up in his entire office. And that was the moment everything changed. I can still picture myself walking into that office and what those next days that followed. And he wound up coming back and coming home, and we wound up selling everything, and my parents filed bankruptcy, and we sold the home that we were in. And yeah, my mom and I were essentially homeless. We had an incredible community in my hometown, and people rallied around us. And there was one specific family that took us in. They built out their pool house for us, which was probably 300, 400 square feet. And they put a wall down the center of it. My mom lived on one side, I lived on the other side, and we had a little plug-in skillet, had a little refrigerator, and that's what we did. And we did that for a couple years while kind of got our feet under us again. And I was supposed to go off to college and do the whole, college thing like everyone, and that just wasn't an option for me. So again, kind of coming back to my mentality, I had always worked. I'd always enjoyed work. I had been doing construction during the summers, painting houses, banging out windows, doing dump runs. From an early age, I was running around the neighborhood and selling fruit off our trees. And like, I just always had that hustle. Like any way I could do it and make money, I was doing it. I was selling baseball cards. The plums from our backyard tree were cash. That was like cash money around the neighborhood in the summer.
Was that for need, or was it really like an adrenaline? Like you enjoyed
I just enjoyed
the
it.
business?
Yeah. I just liked the hustle. Yeah, that was always in me. And so anyway, fast forward, what I knew was I could make good money doing construction. So that's what I started doing. I actually found a contractor that was doing bathroom remodels and started doing tile work and plumbing, and I was painting. So any way I could make money, I was making money, and then just started saving it, started going to classes, either early morning, like I'd go to a 7 a.m. class and then go to an evening class and then work in between. I was kind of whatever I could fit into the schedule. And he was really flexible with me, knowing that I wanted to go to school. So I went to a city college close by where we saved money for a couple of years living in that pool house. I thought I was going down the path of becoming a lawyer. That was what my two cousins did. So it seemed like that was kind of the family path. And so I was working in law offices. I was painting houses on the weekend. I was going to city college, and then wound up getting a full scholarship to go to Berkeley. And that was a blessing, obviously. So I got to finish my education with no debt. And when I did that, that was when I decided, well, maybe I shouldn't take on $200,000 in debt in law school. I should go see what I can do with a degree from Berkeley. So I did. I just started applying to every job out there and went to all the weird first job interviews that are out there in the world, like crazy, funny interviews. That would be its own episode in itself. But I found these guys off of Craigslist. There was 4 guys in a room, and the CEO got on the board and he was like, we're going to build a platform to understand the lifetime value of a customer from the first time they see an ad online to the last time they interact with that brand, and we're going to optimize all the pieces in between. And we're going to build brands on the internet. And I was like, I have no idea what that means, but that sounds really cool. And I liked him. And so
Crash course in performance marketing.
totally. And that's what it was. It was 3 years of an MBA in digital marketing. It was almost like 4 years that I was there, but that was like the MBA because I got paid 30 grand a year or 33 grand a year. But that was amazing to me. I was like, all you want me to do is show up at 8 o'clock in the morning and stay till 6 at night and work at a desk. Like, that's easy. So I was that guy. I just,
Much easier than roofing.
yeah. They made fun of me for the first couple of weeks for showing up in a suit. Like that's how I was wired, was just like to show up and grind. And
I did that same thing. My first job, my first day at my first job out of college, I was in like a full suit and tie, and everyone's like, "Wait, we don't do that here."
come on, dude. Yeah. Chill out.
Yeah, he's like, "Okay, calm down."
Yeah. That was it. That was me. I got to work right alongside the founders and learn everything from these guys as they grew the business from 0 to 60 million and 0 to 100 employees, and were incredibly successful.
What was your role specifically?
So I really gravitated more towards the media buying and customer acquisition side of the business, which, still in that role, you need to know every piece of how the funnel converts and how you make money on the back end of the business. Like, you still need to know it all, but my focus was really on driving revenue and sales. And that was because one of the founders of the company really took an interest in me, kind of brought me under his wing, became my mentor, became like a big brother to me. And eventually we became business partners down the road as well. We started Angel Rush Ventures as a way to empower other entrepreneurs with our skill set around growth and digital marketing. So we became kind of like a private equity / like incubator type business where you had a great idea, but you didn't know how to grow it online. We would come alongside you with our capital and our team of experts and help you grow and amplify the growth of that business. And that was really cool because we got to lean into really what we were both great at, which was growth and driving sales and revenue and partnerships. That was 9 years where we ran Angel Rush Ventures.
It's a good chunk.
Yeah, it was great. It was like all my best friends working in a room together, driving at it every day, charging through like your late 20s and early 30s. There was no better place to be. We just lived it and breathed it every single day. And it was, super fun.
Tell me about the transition from that early job in sales, customer acquisition, media channels, and all that stuff, the skills that you leverage from that into that next venture. What made you ready for that?
The number one thing that is consistent through everything I've done has been the ability to connect to people and build partnerships. That was something that I also felt like was pretty intuitive for me, that I just love people and can connect. That emotional intelligence is something that I was also definitely born with and nurtured big time by my mom and my dad. They were both those people that just would like love on anyone and connect to anyone. And my dad was like a sales chameleon in that way. So I could just adapt to any situation and be that guy. So I think I was born with that, but also really nurtured in that. And Dave, who was my mentor and business partner, was also one of those guys, like just incredible with people and incredible with anyone. And so what he really drilled into me from the beginning was, we're in an internet business, but our ability to get in front of people and build connection is what's going to separate us from every other digital brand out there. And we continue to do that. And COVID kind of hurt that, right? That we're not traveling as much and getting in front of people as often. But I still think that's a complete difference maker in any business, is the ability to just get across from someone, actually get in person, feel their energy, and build a connection to someone. Because it just, especially in a digital business, it separates you from every other company that they could choose to do business with, because they know your heart and they know who you are as a person.
When you see so many different businesses that exist that are maybe overlapping services or similar services, what is the differentiation between any of them? Sometimes it's a key feature. Maybe it's pricing.
Yep.
But ultimately, neither of those things are going to be as impactful, I think, as the individuals that you have confidence that support that. The people behind the curtain, people that are, what is their culture? What is their philosophy? What is their mission? And is it backed up, or is it just words on our About Us page? It's kind of ironic, actually, being people first or having that human connection in a digital era it's so needed, especially the more separated we are, the less personal we are between brand and consumer. I think the more that a personality or human connection is relevant.
I think you're 100% right. I think even as we move through the next 10 years where we know innovation on AI and automation and everything is just going to go to a whole nother planet that we can't even picture right now, I think leaning even more into the human side of business is going to be interesting. I think there's going to be a return to experiences and in real life experiences, whether that's through coaching and actually getting across from someone in the room, and or it's going to be going to an event, or brands that can pull you into an environment to experience the product or experience their service. You're looking for how the human element just remains in business into the future.
COVID taught us that we no longer, in many cases, need to actually go into an office to see our primary care physician to ask a question about, I feel this way, what do you think? And can you write me a prescription? I don't need to waste all that time, and it's more efficient to do it that way.
Yep.
One of my favorite books that I had read by Priya Parker called The Art of Gathering, one of my all-time favorite books, because it talks about how to basically be mindful about and intentional behind your gathering. So we've invested all of this time, energy, and planning into coming together. And this was written before COVID. So now how do we capitalize on all that investment? How do we make it actually more meaningful and have better outcomes from all of this work that led up to us being here today?
Yeah. So you also hit my business on the head, right? With like the doctors on demand. I think,
I didn't even intend on it, by the way. Maybe it was subconscious. I don't know.
Well, what's interesting is, yes, it makes sense, right? That there are so many things that can be solved by making healthcare more accessible, right? Just make it easier for people to get the things they need that make them healthier and let them live a longer life. That's MyStart. That's my business. That's what we're doing. So a year ago, I started, it's my second venture into the telehealth space, but I started a telehealth business called MyStart Health. And we have a mission to ultimately make healthcare more accessible and more affordable for the average American consumer, and to do it across really game-changing peptides and prescribed products that we feel like should be in the hands of every single American and will help people live healthier, longer lives.
Yeah, give me some examples.
GLP-1 medications, weight loss medication. The stat is the second you get diagnosed with diabetes, you lose 16 years off your life. Our healthcare system is, well, in Americans, right, diabetes is rampant, not just in America, but other countries as well, but big time in the US. And the cost on our healthcare system is dramatic from these chronic conditions that a lot is brought on by obesity. One of our focuses, what got me into it was seeing the lives of friends and family members completely transformed by these medications. And I've still yet to see a case where someone had a bad experience that didn't outweigh the positives of these medications. I think you're going to see them even from anywhere from microdosed to full titration. Like, you're going to see a lot of people, like up to 90% of Americans, on some form of these medications because of their ability to regulate our blood sugar. And ultimately, regulating your blood sugar helps you achieve weight loss, but also helps you achieve longevity because you're not putting that strain on the rest of your system.
Typically, maybe always right now, these medications are reactive. Is there a world where there is a level of proactivity where what you're doing is proactively preventing something like that?
Yeah. And I think that's what you're seeing. I mean, you're not seeing it out there as much as you're seeing this, trying to solve the obesity epidemic in our country. That's primarily where the focus of the medication is. But when you peel back the covers a little bit on people that are talking about longevity and talking about peptides and people who are very healthy naturally, there's a large group of people out there that are microdosing GLP-1s on top of other peptides that they're using because of that exact reason, because it does get them ahead of the curve and helps them regulate their blood sugar. And yeah, there's just going to be more and more evidence coming out around how it actually works from a longevity perspective.
I would like to see more common a full, robust program that includes medication and then sustainability. I'd like to see this not just about obesity, not just about diabetes, but in general from our healthcare system, to have these more lifestyle packages that allows you to both proactively as well as from a recovery reactive way of managing our health is so segmented. It's like, why
Yeah.
is my gym membership not covered by insurance?
Well said. Yeah. I completely agree with you. It takes everything. I think we are moving in the right direction as like a society. I think there's more and more education around how our food system needs to shift and change away from processed foods and into more whole
Yeah.
food diets. I think it's becoming more well known where like us growing up in the 80s, it was zero, right? It was all about packaged foods and ease and fast food. And like, that's what it was. And like,
Yeah.
and so I think we're seeing this shift back to like more whole food and solving the price points on that, like for the general consumer, I think is where the next phase of this, like you're starting to see some regulations come out in different states, like in Oklahoma, they just passed some legislation around using people on Medicare, like Medicare dollars to be able to cover quality foods, like organic foods, things like that, right? Like that
Yeah.
type of legislation needs to happen. I think you're seeing, ultimately we have to see, how far government can push it, but I think you're seeing things move in the right direction. You've just seen Casey Means get promoted to be our Surgeon General, and she's written an incredible book on it, but it's all about the food system. Promoting someone like her that's like not a traditional medical doctor in that spot where she believes in whole food, she believes in alternative solutions to our health. Like again, we'll see how it all plays out, but things are shifting in the right direction. Yeah. So
From
my start.
from digital,
Yeah.
construction to digital marketing into more investment incubation PE, but then why telehealth?
Yeah. So from the first time did anything in the healthcare space, I kind of light bulb moment for me was like healthcare is the best application of my skill set across any industry that I could possibly be in because there's so much inefficiency in healthcare. They don't understand what I do from a growth marketing perspective generally as like an industry. There's a ton of value creation both by helping people and actually getting solutions in people's hands that can change their lives. So that was important to me, and also creating company value. If you do those things in hand, I felt like it was the one space where I could accomplish both, where I could get medications into people's hands that literally made a huge impact in their life, and I could build incredible equity value around a company like that. So if I do it well, if I do my job, I can help people and I can change my family's life.
That's brilliant. Fantastic. Talk about mission driven.
Yeah. I mean, it's that. And it's also my dad, right? Like
Yeah.
I always think about him because had he had access to these medications, had he had a diagnosis of bipolar, but even if he just had access to GLP-1 medications, my dad always carried a big belly with him. He always had high blood pressure that was unchecked, hated going to the doctor. Like he had the silent killer, like high blood pressure over who knows how many years, probably 30 years, shut down his kidneys, gave him heart failure. And like he would lie to us and say he was going to the doctor and he was fine. We knew he was not fine. We tried intervening, but like I really believe if he had access to those medications early on, he'd still be with us today.
That's a hard pill to swallow.
It's true.
Yeah. I think a lot of us in society, my observation and theory is that a lot of people go into specific professions because they themselves either needed it or were related to or directly impacted by somebody who could have benefited from the services. And it influences a lot of how we think and live, and therefore maybe what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. It's also why we started Cheat Code. Dr. Mondo and I both had the same type of dads that had there been these solutions more available, like, and had we all been more open as a society and as men to receiving therapy and getting help and talking about our shit, like
Yeah.
both those dudes would still be around. And, Mondo's dad suffered with alcoholism. My dad suffered and was also bipolar. My dad suffered with bipolar and had his own vices and, how he ate. And yeah, it's just, that was it. That's where Mondo and I really bonded and we're like, we got to do something to just shift the narrative, especially for everyone, but especially for men around like why we can't just talk about this stuff. Why can't we just be cool with therapy?
Yeah.
So that's been a big part of our mission there too.
Public service announcement here is I've been in therapy virtually my whole life and I've benefited greatly from it. And if you are suffering, struggling at all, I encourage everyone to seek help. and to go out and find somebody that's going to be a positive influence and maybe North Star for you. Because I have often preached that the best time to be in therapy is when you don't think you need it. It is such a game changer, the ability to even just vent, even just get it off your chest. But sometimes it's more than that. It's, okay, what did I learn by way of just throwing this out and having a unbiased third-party perspective give me some of that feedback? And so I encourage everyone to invest in themselves.
Thank you, Noah. I love that.
Matthew, I just want to say thank you. This has been a fantastic conversation. Thanks for being here and sharing your story.
Thank you so much, Noah. This was a blast, and I hope we get to do it again.
Totally. I want to thank Matthew for being today's guest on the show, and also want to thank you, our listeners, for joining us on this episode of Transferable Skills. Remember, the skills you've gained can take you anywhere. Until next time, keep exploring those transferable skills.